Hello and welcome to my video about the Artillery Sidewinder X4 Pro. The voice you hear is AI generated, but the content is my own creation. I did not receive anything from any vendor and just start to experiment with video creation. Everything you see on this video was bought using my own money, so all you hear is my own unbiased opinion. Let's start this unboxing with these included leveling papers, the user manual, and the quick start guide. Then we find the filament runout sensor and the accessory bag with lots of stuff inside. And now we can take a first look at the pull rods and the extruder. Time to take them out of the nice packaging foam. And here we see the first of a few 3D printed parts. The display, the metal spool holder part, and the big foam piece to get to the Z gantry. We can place the gantry carefully on the soft foam to avoid damage. When we take a first closer look, we can see the new nozzle and the RGB LED. The Z-axis is still running POM wheels, and on top we see more LEDs. This time not in RGB. After removing some foam pieces and loosening the cable, we can start lifting out the heavy base. I place the base on 3 feet for easier assembly. Cut off the zip ties and pull them out. If you are curious about the Artillery Sidewinder X4 lineup, I'll put a link in the description. Now we can lift the Z-axis by hand so the extruder doesn't interfere with the bed. Once the gantry is on the base, use the biggest screws to attach the first side. To do so, we align the Z gantry exactly. This will help us later. Use the included hex key and tighten both screws on the first side. Before tightening the second side, we lift the Z-axis almost to the top and measure the width up there. When we then measure at the bottom, we know how much the second side has to be pushed to the side while tightening the screws there. Parallel Z-rods are important to avoid print problems. Now let's get all the parts to mount the filament spool holder and the filament runout sensor. Take off the 3D printed cap and attach it to the metal piece like shown. Or at least try. And try harder. And look for problems. Can you see it? Here we can take a knife and cut a slope onto the locking mechanism. And now back to assembly for one more try. Perfect, it works. Let's twist it hard to really lock it. Now mount the filament runout sensor. This thing is a little too loose for my flavor. But anyway, prepare the screws for mounting the whole thing on top of the printer. And while we are up there, plug in the filament runout sensor using some YouTube magic. Before we take out the next screws for mounting the screen to the base of the printer, connect the cable after attaching the screen like a pro. And don't forget to attach the antenna however you like it. Starts looking good. But let's move on to connecting some more cables. And now the most obvious cable. Center the extruder for easier access, but do this slowly. Maybe Artillery provides a new lead screw? Simply lift the cable and insert it through the frame without introducing any tight turns. Open the clips and watch out for bent pins before connecting the cable. Push down the connector until the clips close and then attach the cable to the strain relief. Grab the wire clip, hold the extruder wire in place like shown, plug in the X-stepper connector to keep the whole harness in place while putting on the wire clip. Now let's get to the diagonal rods. After loosening the ends of the rods, take a short screw and a washer for mounting it on top, and take the long screw and a washer for the base of the printer. The diagonal rods should not bend the Z gantry. Move the nut out of the way if necessary and tighten the screw, then tighten the nut as well. Repeat the steps on the top of the rod and of course on the second rod as well. If you want, you can check the angle of the Z gantry afterwards and adjust the rods if necessary. Looks good? Time for a little review and my 2 cents. The whole printer is very stable in contrast to the table. The extruder cable hits the Z rod on the left side when homing, which is not really a problem on the right side. The palm wheels don't spin freely after mounting the Z gantry parallel. The bed wobbles a bit, but accelerometer measurements will show if it affects input shaping. Short break. I am in contact with Artillery regarding this problem and will provide further updates about received replacement parts. On top of the bed, we get a nice dark PEI sheet with guides for easier alignment when placing the PEI sheet onto the strong magnet. The printer has a USB-A connector for thumb drives and a USB-C connector for connecting to a PC. Watch for links in the description. I really like the stabilizing diagonal rods. And the extruder has no play at all. Nice job. In the accessory bag from the beginning of the video were all those things. Nice to see grease and at least one spare nozzle. Now let me show you the problems I had. The Z stepper motor on the right side had a broken connector and bent pins. I managed to straighten the pins by carefully bending them to shape using my pocket knife. Thankfully, this was not a big issue for me, but I am curious if you managed to see this earlier in the video when connecting the cable. The next sign of rough handling was found under the left tape that secures the PEI sheet. The aluminium bed got damaged. We will see in fluid how it affects the bed mesh. Another short break. I am in contact with Artillery regarding this problem as well. One last problem that I found while setting up the printer was a very loose belt on the Y-axis. The real problem was that the belt tensioner's screw scratched the belt and had still not put enough tension to the belt. After loosening the belt completely and taking off the bed for easier access, we pull on one end of the belt and fold it over to shorten it. We can use a zip tie to lock the folded end tight using pliers. Carefully trim the end of the zip tie. Using a knife is not really optimal here. Now put the bed back onto the frame, install all the bed tramming knobs, and enjoy a working belt tensioner. Leave a comment if you would like to see a belt tensioning tutorial. Consider leaving a like and subscribe to my channel. It is completely free for you, helps my channel a lot, and you won't miss any future uploads. Thanks for watching. Happy printing.